miracle. And we know that in the 50s, they were expanding the school, the range of the student body. They were getting away from only Choate and Groton and so forth, and they were expanding geographically and sociologically. And I had an excellent record, and I just got picked up. And this is the way it happens. It happens in Chinese civilization, or feudal civilization. Somebody might note, oh, that young man seems really bright, and so let's bring him in. And that's the way it works, and always has. And the problem is that I just couldn't manage it with, and there's no point in going over it. I did the best I could, given the circumstances. I'm satisfied with that. The fact that I didn't get to the point, and I'm not talking about being a CEO or a billionaire. My criteria is you have a house and a vacation house and a couple of cars, and you send your kids to college without scholarship. And that's good enough. And if you have more, that's fine. But the way history has gone, and so, no, I'm not quite finished yet. So you two, with Bates and full scholarship to Bates, and then mother's money for Kenyon, let you two, the upper 1/100%, and then there's the 10%, because there's 10% of people, lawyers, doctors, accountants, business people, who serve the interests and have decent lives. And I think, and I hope, that I've managed to slip you guys in to that level so that you're not going to experience any serious difficulties. I'm worried about Usman and Oisin, and I just want you to say that I see no other way for them. I just hope they don't end up in the bottom 80%, because life is not fun. And worrying, and you know about growing up without any money and worrying about every goddamn thing that comes along. So that's one reason why I sent him that book. I would like to, and it's not anybody's fault. If we were associating with people who were editors and advertising people, maybe business people up to a certain type of business person, and then
professors or scientists or
something
journalists.
like that. But we're not. We're not. I'm not working for. I'm not working.
I have a lot of friends in those categories, but we'll see the restaurant. I'm just getting some water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not. I didn't work for DuPont, and we didn't grow up in Wilmington, surrounded by science. We didn't end up in Marlboro, or I ended up in a room alone in Manalapan, and you guys survived in Fairhaven until you both got away. And so there isn't that environment, and we haven't had the kind of family growing up where the guests come in every week, or we go to somebody's house and have dinner, and everybody is talking about Usman are lacking. You're doing the best you can. Now the final thing, these phones drive you nuts. They just come on. It's crazy.
Talk to you and interrupt your podcast.
I know. And on YouTube now, if you listen to a piece of music, you get to a certain point where an ad pops up. And I think there's an option on YouTube where you could pay
to have ad free, but it's so annoying.
Disgusting.
And then the ads
And,
are terrible.
Right.
Terrible, like unrelated, crazy stuff.
Now,
Well, one good thing I'll say is that living in Washington, D.C.,
thank God.
Usman's had exposure to
Right.
people from, parents who are doctors and engineers and
Diplomats.
evaluators and different exposure.
And he-
And I mean, growing up and going to school in Fairhaven, never had any idea what anyone's parents did. People didn't talk about
They didn't
careers.
do anything interesting.
Right.
It's a much more open, diverse environment, and he's lived in Kosovo. He's spent summers in Senegal. It's
Right,
an
now
environment
with
that's
him-
much richer.
With him, what I'm struck by is the fact that he said he didn't go for the piano. He says he doesn't like museums. What I'm missing is all this experience, and somehow it's not translating into, oh, can't you buy me a chemistry set or something like that? And he'll sit there. So that's your problem. I'm out of here.
He's your
and
problem.
you've raised him fine. Just, and I told him the other day explicitly, I said, Usman, you are going to have to do well in school. There is no other way for people who aren't already in the aristocracy to get there. And
Good.
other than doing outstanding in school and being selected then to move on.
Anointed.
And then
True.
if that's not feasible, if the person is not capable of that, then you adjust and you choose an occupation that's doable, and you have hope you have a nice life. Because the situation in the world is that all over the world and growing in the United States is the population who are leading tenuous lives, and the population that the upper population has always been, go back to Egypt, Assyria, Sumer, and so forth. It's always been the same. And there, they were explicitly slave societies. And you had the people at the top and then everybody else. And yes, there was a layer, the priestly class and the engineers, the guys who actually designed the pyramids and so forth, led pretty good lives. But think about the guys who had to drag those
Yeah.
huge stones up. So they were nothing but slaves. And that's the way the world is. Now, your job is to just do the best you can and not worry about that. If you ever get to a point where you're not doing anything and you have plenty of leisure, I'll show you this list of books. And I don't think anybody in reading these 75 books that I've read can come to any other conclusion. Furthermore, it's not just my ideas. These books are written by, there's a guy at Columbia Business School who's written several books. There's the guy at Yale in the history department, Tim Snyder, who's written books on the Holocaust and on the current situation, and others. Supreme Court, education.
Yeah, I've read several of them,
and you've read
and
several.
even I think a good way to keep up with it is Democracy Now.
She's all right. She's okay.
The people who are on it, the people who are on are a
yeah,
good,
that's
a
way.
good
Yeah.
reminder of certain areas, and she does have academics and people in different fields on, so it's a good reminder of history
And you
and
got to watch those people, though. Nobody, it seems, including Chomsky, gets Israel correct, because it's always the poor Palestinians, and I have heard nobody ever say that it's the corrupt Palestinian leadership that have kept these people in miserable conditions for decades, because there's an interest in maintaining the tension and Hamas and the other one. Hamas,
Hezbollah?
Hezbollah. And the PLO before that, the guy who's dead,
Arafat?
Arafat, who was just the pits and he deceived Clinton, and he was, and his uncle was a Nazi, and he was trained as a young man, and so the anti-Semitism there, people are overlooking, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they could ever do it. There's one novel written by a man named Jonathan Ferrer, who has the Jewish state in a remote part of Alaska. And that's a novel where it goes on and on. And I can't remember what the conclusion is, whether he was writing this as a fantasy or
Like
a
an
joke
actual-
or whatever. But as long as they're where they are, and they have every right to be there, because the Jews go back in a way that is absolutely unique. I guess the Chinese do too. And so who knows what's going to happen at that level in the next centuries. The one thing that I think that has, one couple of things that are clear, that the West has been favored geographically and conditionally to become the West and become dominant. And that book you gave me, The Curse of Geography or something, that was one of the first books I read. Absolutely true. The United States, with oceans on both sides, escaped what was the pattern of life all the time in Europe from the beginnings of mankind right up until the Second World War. And it was just conflict. And Irv said the other day in a phone call, he said, do you realize that, and I think he said that since the late 19th century, 200 million men have been killed in war.
Wow.
And that's just
Astonishing.
shocking. It's
Yeah.
shocking. And the fact that, and the book I'm reading is the reason I'm saying this is it, because it sums it up. And the CIA from 47 to the present is a kind of capsule history of how we've been kept in constant warfare, and the CIA has become an organization that tricked presidents, that had agendas of its own, and was in a constant state of anti-communist hysteria after the Second World War, when nobody could figure out what Stalin's plans were. And the fact that, and that's what this says, that the CIA had no idea. Nobody had any idea what was in his mind. And then when Khrushchev came in and denounced him, that was an opening that was just missed. And it turns out that the Kennedys were some of the worst as far as covert operations are concerned. They just loved them. And destabilizing governments and interfering in elections and that sort of thing. And the motivation is anti-communist. It goes back to the 1880s when Marx begins to write. And the robber barons and the Industrial Revolution becomes the format for a kind of wage slavery, and then the workers start agitating, and the forces of business lined up on the other side and have stayed in operation right up until the present. I have no idea. I'm thinking that what if Zuckerberg and Bezos got together and said, I think we could. Why aren't we president? And and then they send out hundreds of thousands of workers, and this book makes it clear, as other books, Dark Money, for example, this has happened domestically. People are hired to go and form false protests, and then the think tanks come up with ideas like, I never heard of this as a boy, I guess it has been, whether life begins in the womb or when the baby comes out and starts to cry. And so these fringe legal things have been developed by some of the finest minds. I mean, it turns out that in the 40s and 50s, the recruiters walked the halls of Yale and just started talking to people and recruited. Yale is
No way.
in it
For CIA, right?
what
For the CIA.
for the
Yes.
CIA and the crimes of the CIA. The Yale people are
Big and
and
implicated.
Bush, President Bush was head of the CIA before.
That's right.
So,
Forget about it.
but there's nothing, only some scholars understand this all. And the media is clearly, it's clearly an echo chamber to keep people confused and deceived up to a certain point, depends on the
And
circumstances.
entertained. Distracted.
Distracted, not entertained, and distracted, and I've reached the point, and I just regret to my dying day all the hours I had spent in front of a television set over the years. And when I was having all kinds of problems at college, I remember I was sitting in the TV room watching Gunsmoke and Peter Gunn and stuff like that when I should have been studying, but I couldn't. I just couldn't do it, and it took a long time after that. It wasn't until Joyce came along that we began to deal with that. And
But isn't that amazing that you did? You didn't go through your whole life not
yes,
dealing with
it's
that? It's
absolutely
amazing.
wonderful.
And you did manage to finish Yale.
Yes, of course. And Joyce was the savior.
Yeah.
And but that was
That's
not without
remarkable.
its
No, I know.
underside too, because that
Of
took a
course.
long time. And
But think
but
how
that
many
was
people
good.
go through life and never.
Never I did. So
That's
what
why I
I'm
think
telling
it's
you
very
is,
cool.
I'm telling you this to be wary, and that you know what my dad told me.
No.
I think I've told you this before. He said, "Now, when you get to Yale, I want you to suck up to some rich person." And I mean, can you imagine a man giving a son remarks like that? So that
What-
fucked me up.
What
Yeah,
did he
but
mean?
Think you would.
To get to
to
be
get a
friendly
job
with
or-
a wealthy guy and then get into society that way. Be a sycophant. And as there's a guy named Calvin Trillin, I don't know if you ever heard
Yes,
of him.
sure.
Class of '57, who has very well known. And I remember reading something where his dad, he was from the Midwest, I don't know whether it was, as Joyce used to say, no, Fred, you weren't from the middle class, you were from the lower class. And I don't know whether Trillin was middle class or not. But
Did you
his
agree with
father-
that? Did you agree with that?
Oh, yes, that's true. A high school teacher, office worker.
So would you say working class, or how would you?
Well, I would say that anybody who's not, I think the largest number of employees in anything are teachers.
Oh.
And I've looked this up in the web in statistics, numbers of people in certain categories of employment. And the only thing close to teachers is retail workers. And what I'm saying is
In
there's-
numbers, you mean?
in numbers, in that slice of society, which you see in, I can't wait for you guys to visit in Philadelphia, in the middle, the main line. There was always the main line when I was a boy, and the main line was the upper level in the Philadelphia area. And you can see why it is. I mean, if you drive around, the houses are huge. And now that's changed. There's a lot of condos in there. There was a time when there were 160 million Americans. Now there are 360. So, and a lot of colleges that were just really ordinary then, but are not bad now. And then at the top, there's the impossibility of even getting in, and it's changed. There were hardly any foreign students at Yale when I was there.
Yeah.
There were no blacks. I knew one black guy. I knew one Chinese guy, and but that's all changing now.
Yeah, of course.
And that's okay, I guess. Except what I always wondered was whether this same ideal of liberty and justice that comes out of the Enlightenment and takes root here and remains an ideal. It is not the history of the country.
Right, exactly.
The country
Exactly.
has been a very disastrous place for the rest of the world ever since at least they became economically dominant under slavery. And because that's when the economic power-
theft of the indigenous lands and the persecution of the
Absolutely, same
indigenous
thing.
people.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
Same.
what it's
That's-
based on,
that same-
persecution and
that's right.
colonialism.
However,
The
one
settler
thing that-
mentality.
The one thing that I have pause about is the Indians, and somehow couldn't somebody have made the Indians see how, now that's, we're up in through the Renaissance, and there are major cities in Europe and cathedrals and everything. Couldn't somebody have made the Indians realize that hunter-gathering was over and that they couldn't have those lands, that they were going to become cities and this was going to become a great country? And I guess the idea was, the combination was, they were savages, they were subhuman.
But
and
how
one-
how could cities exist if it wasn't for land? How
Wait
does
a minute.
how is food produced if everything becomes urbanized and there is
Well,
no
here we are. The way it happens is you've got these massive farms, and then if you read the book Diet for a Small Planet from about 25 years ago,
Francis
LaPay, you see that there's plenty of food, the distribution of it. It's just like there's plenty of money. There's plenty of money. It's in so few hands. The other thing, the other example I can give you, when you stop and think about this one thing, if a country's legal system, which developed early here, in the 1820s and by the 1880s, it was doctrine that corporations are entitled to the same rights as individuals. If that's a core of the legal system, God help you. And it's been over and over again. The money has drifted closer and closer into closer hands, and people have become more powerful. And then when Reagan came along, it got a real jolt, and it's been bad ever since. And I know, I don't know whether you guys think Obama was okay, but it turns out he was just hopelessly an example of somebody plucked up, put in the aristocracy, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. And now I understand that he and his wife are building a $15 million property on some special island in
Oh, really?
Hawaii. Yeah. So, and then when I don't listen to him anymore, absolutely. And so all this, and we can talk some more about this, not interested in what your ideas are. Two things, there's a book I read on healthcare and education. Healthcare was an American sickness, and education was
For your list.
yeah, I do. And this file has become corrupted.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think the only place that there's a chance that it's uncorrupted is on my computer down at the desk.
Okay.
And I started to work on it the other day, but I just got too tired of it. And
Well,
because this one has a background of yellow that I can't get out. Now, the specific title that I'm looking for.
Down at
is-
which desk were you talking about?
And so the list of his books sits in
Yeah.
so it's just
Don't,
complicated.
Oh, you were
No.
there working on it, you said?
yeah,
2 weeks ago, right?
2 weeks ago,
Oh.
something like that. I went down
Ah.
once. And Linda said, no more.
No more going there?
Until
Oh.
COVID is over. Next door to One Nation Under God, the Generals. You might be interested. The Assassination of Lumumba, King Leopold's Ghost, the Assassination of New York, Betrayal of the American Dream, Predator Nation, The Revenge of Geography.
Mm-hmm.
This Changes Everything, Naomi Klein.
Mm-hmm.
Shock Doctrine.
Read those.
Through Jaundiced Eyes, which is a scholarly study of the treatment of labor in the 20th century in the media. And how there's virtually no positive images of the labor movement in the media. Who Rules Now? Jaundiced Eyes, The End of America, Naomi Wolf. Dark Money, Merchants of Grain, Citizens Disunited, When Corporations Rule the World, Who Rules the World, Command and Control, which is about the military, Nazis Next Door, One Nation Under God, about the aggressive transformation of the United States into a Christian, because at the beginning it was not clear what kind of Christianity would take place here. Nazis Next Door, Generals. Rat Fucked, that's about the decade of the 2010 census that the Republicans got a hold of and just gerrymandered everything, and we're still living with that.
Huh.
Nazis Next Door, One Nation Under God, the Generals. All the President's Bankers, about banking. No Place to Hide by Glenn Greenwald. This is about surveillance. The Power Broker, oh, that's a fantastic book. That's about Robert Moses in New York, and how what we've got in New York today is largely his work. The Ghetto,
I have that.
and this is one of the key, oh, come on. Damn. From the War on Poverty to the War on Crime.
I gave you that one.
Yes, and that takes you from Johnson to Bush, I guess, I can't remember, and just shows you each step of the way and what legislation was decided it wasn't working, so let's try this, and it got worse and worse.
And we saw a documentary recently that shows how similar Clinton's views on that were to Nixon. It was as if Clinton and Nixon were saying the same things.
Same thing. And
Made
he
it that
and
much
all the
easier.
while,
About what
he-
topic?
Crime.
he was coming across as a liberal in the press, and they were going for that too. On Tyranny, that's Tim Snyder from Yale History Department. That's a very wonderful book. Captured capitalist infiltration of, and that's by Senator Whitehouse. That's only partial title. Injustices about the Supreme Court, history of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has always been in support of the ruling class, with a few wrinkles here and there. Black Earth, the Holocaust as History and Warning. That's by Timothy Snyder at Yale. Behind the Nylon Curtain is about the DuPont, and it was a book that was written by Gerald Colby, and the DuPonts were so obsessed with suppressing the book that they did things like they bought up all the copies of the first printing.
Oh my God.
And today, the only way you read that book is on Kindle.
Oh my
It
God.
doesn't exist in print, at least when I read
Interesting.
it
Wait,
a
what's
few
that
years
one called
ago.
again? Behind the Nylon Curtain.
Behind the Nylon Curtain, the DuPonts, and then the other book is Thy Will Be Done, about the Rockefellers and the American Bible Society and the whole thing about what we've done in Latin America, and they systematically destroyed the culture, come in, and it goes on and on. And that book fits with this CIA thing. No is Not Enough by Naomi Klein. I don't remember much about that. Here's the other one, An American Sickness. It's about the transformation of the American healthcare system into big business. The idea that hospitals advertise on radio and television, never anything like. And you had little small hospitals and large. None. It's all business. It's all insurance. And Fate of Empires were older books that I came across. The Reign of Error by Diane Ravitch is the one about the school system. And she talks about a lot of things, and it's very persuasive. Flash Boys, that's about what valley? Silicon Valley. The Know-It-Alls, same thing. Living with Guns is a book about the history of guns here. Listen Liberal is a book. Listen Liberal is a book by Thomas Frank, who just exposes a lot of things. Seeds of Deception, the GMO Deception, Reclaiming Gotham. That's by John Gonzalez. The 1% Solution, Fair Shot. That's about
But Chris,
yeah.
right? I read that.
And it's about
Minimum.
philanthropy, and
It's also about minimum income, having a minimum
yeah, that's right.
national
And,
minimum income. It's by the founder of Facebook.
Corruption in America by Zephyr Teachout. Collusion by Naomi Prinz. Democracy and Change, They Know Everything About You. The Silk Roads, A New History of the
I'm
World.
reading that right now.
Fabulous. The Master Switch and here's the guy from Columbia Business. The Master Switch, The American Merchant, The Attention Merchants, and The Curse of Bigness, all by Tim Wu. I don't know whether you've ever read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, but
A long time ago,
I never
think
had,
in high
and
school.
I reread it now, and
Which
it's
is a good
just
time to reread it.
Oh my God. Consumed, How Markets Corrupt. The Meritocracy Trap, about the guy at Yale, and how it's what I'm talking about, how it's getting narrower and narrower. And the people who are at the top are making sure that their progeny get the next shot, and so it's getting harder and harder. Cokeland, The Meat Racket Private Empire, ExxonMobil, and the history of the corporation and its impact. The firm that Caitlin works for, McKinney's, and the
McKinsey.
role that that has played in the last 50, 100 years. It started in the 30s. The Chicken Shit Club about the law and the failure of the government to ever take monopoly seriously and to do anything about it. The Givers by Ken Auletta.
Oh, I gave you that one.
Yeah. Googled.
Philanthropy.
Blowout by Rachel Maddow and Drift by Rachel Maddow.
Oh, I
They
gave
were
you
good.
Rachel Maddow.
The Code by Margaret O'Mara. I can't remember that one so well. The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, Capital in the 21st Century, The Great Leveler, Violence, and then that's Walter Scheidel. And what happened to Doubt is Their Product by David Michaels, and How to Make $1 Million an Hour by Leslie Leopold, and here it is, The Red Velvet Economy by Nelson Schwartz. You know, the Red Velvet line, you go in the theater, and the Red Velvet line separates things, the Red Velvet Economy.
Can you
And-
just forward that file? Is that in an email or is it?
I'll try.
might
I'm
have it.
hoping to, after COVID, I'm hoping to
Where are
make
you?
sure
Where are you reading that from right now?
my iPhone.
Is it written in a memo in your iPhone?
It's a Word file.
It's saved on your phone.
I think
Yes.
I might have it because didn't I
Because
forward
you
it?
can just
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean,
just text that to me right
Honey,
there.
Yeah, I can text it to you, but you don't have time.
But I do. I read every day. I read every single day.
That's good.
Okay, well, you ought to get Usman reading some of the same books, because when I talked to him, I just wasn't sure of the oceans in the world, and I thought, oh my God, at 11 years old. So anyway, by the way, we had the conversation, and you started to laugh. He was talking about being out riding bikes with the other guys.
With the other guys,
Yeah.
he was riding with his friend.
Yeah, and the police stopped somebody.
Oh no! It was when we were putting our bikes away, and they were enforcing the curfew when they had a curfew for 2 days in DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
Apparently, they were just questioned. The police were just questioning some people who were outside.
Well, does Usman know that he's a target as a non-white person of the police?
Yeah, he's
and
aware.
he has to be aware of that. And I was thinking, when you were saying he's riding his bike back and forth between the two locations, some cop pulls him over and God knows what. So if he's aware of that. Well, Black Lives Matter is all about that. So I just wish he would read a little more adult stuff. So I've covered the waterfront.
Yes.
What I feel good about is the fact that at 83, I have finally gotten a coherent view, because I grew up as a Kennedy liberal, and with raising you and marrying Dorothy, and I was just on the fringe. I remember the Vietnamese War, and
In a little while. We're just chatting with Grandpa.
Now it seems that if you had a chance to
do it all
have a
over.
different path, you would make a phenomenal political science or history
No.
professor.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That what do you do in this case now? I told you that there was an article in a list in the recent alumni magazine of the list of majors in the current and next class of Yale. No English majors among men.
None.
Just women, 60 women. And so.
How big is the class?
1,200, now it's up to 12.
1,200. 60
1,500.
women and. Mhm.
Yeah, and
What's most common?
Bloom, in a recent interview before he died with Charlie Rose, said he didn't think there were more than 10 colleges in the country that studied literature the way he would advocate it, and that people are just rushing to economics and
Right.
computer science
Right.
because that's where the money is. And,
Right, the demise of the liberal education, right, liberal arts
and when I
education.
look back, well, how do you do it? You can't. I tried to figure it out. Well, what would I do today? Well, maybe you would go, maybe if you got into a prestige college, maybe you could take 2 years of something called directed studies, which is a program that was there. It was a liberal education, philosophy, literature, history of art, and so forth. And then your third and fourth year, you narrowed in. And I was thinking, well, it took me 5 years, and I didn't get around to this part until years later. I remember when I was leaving for the Army, I got a hold of the reading list for the course Classical Civilization 101. And I had every intention of following up on that because I realized I had gotten none of that, and I don't ever know what happened to it. So the idea is, if you don't want to, the idea is, can you head down the money path, make enough, and stop? Or is that just not possible, and that you have to say, we're going to go for a more modest lifestyle. I'm going to get a faculty position at Swarthmore or there's 3 colleges, right? There's Swarthmore, Bridge, Haverford, and Bryn Mawr, and then my children can go there free, and we'll have a nice place upstate New York to go to, and that will be life. And then there won't be any question of a lot of money. However, what I also realized is that at that table, at that dining room table, back in 1954, what was missing, and I had no idea, I wanted to make a lot of money. That's what I really wanted. I really wanted to get out of the lower class, but I couldn't put that together in any coherent way. But I realized much later that, and I know when I got out, when I was getting out, but by that time, when I was graduating, my self-esteem was so low. And I said, well, there's banking, insurance, and brokerage. That's what guys do. And I said, I don't think I can do that. So I'll go for scholarship. And then that didn't work out either. And there you are.
Well, it's
When
good to
you-
know. It's good to know that you would have made an exceptional scholar, especially I think in
I
this
would've. You know,
in this field. Imagine.
What I think about is somebody
there's-
becoming an Egyptologist. And I've read a book on the origin of the Jews. I don't know. Oh, that wasn't in that segment. That was in the long list of books read. And his career, he's an archaeologist, and he has spent his career deciphering the languages on the various monuments that have been dug up around the Middle East. Now, what could be further from politics and making money and so forth? And I thought, well, maybe something like that. And you just forego the other stuff.
But people do, especially if you have 2 people who are, if you have a tenured job as a professor and you have 2 people who are earning an income, the professors I knew in college, they had a decent house, they took a vacation, they had a decent life.
Who are you talking about?
Professors that I knew at college,
At
their
them.
lives were, they had decent lives.
That's right. Yeah. Bates would have been a good
Right.
place, and the same thing with Kenyon. There was a lovely campus. My God, it was as good looking a campus as Princeton. And you do well in your PhD and you get a nice job and you begin to learn more and more about your field, and yes, it could be a very nice life.
But now it's very difficult for PhD candidates in the especially in the humanities and to some degree in the social sciences.
Because now the business model has taken over so much. You've got all the adjunct faculty
Right.
everywhere,
Right.
Who can barely scratch
Right.
together a living, and then the few places at the top. And what you find out is these places at the top have educated some of the worst because the part I did get a hint of when I was there was, oh, we are the chosen, and we have an obligation to society, noblesse oblige. But that was just an idea, because what happens is, yes, we're the upper class, and we're going to stay the upper class, and we're going to make sure we are the upper class. And this book. Did you ever hear of John Foster Dulles?
Mm-hmm, sure.
His Department of State, and then Alan Dulles, his brother. They were former Wall Street lawyers, and they wrecked the 50s and 60s and somewhat into the 70s, and they were just they had disdain for Truman, and they kept us at eternal warfare, and I don't know how you get out of it. If I'm elected,
the idea is to do anything possible to maintain the status quo, and for people who believe in that as the in the natural world order of having a privileged class, having a class of people who serve the privileged class, having working class, then you're doing everything to preserve that way of existence, at whatever cost, at whatever it takes, and then to assuage for certain people to assuage that sense of social responsibility, or giving opportunities to people who don't have them, then you volunteer, then you donate your money, and that's what philanthropy exists to help people relieve themselves of the guilt. Help people relieve themselves of the guilt of preserving the system. It's not about changing the structure.
No. And Gates is one of the most fraudulent, and Buffett too. Even Soros, as doing good, but they're still making enormous amounts of money.
Mm-hmm. Well, interestingly, Buffett's children's foundation, Novo Foundation, has stepped back, and they have said they fired most of their staff, moved to Kingston, New York. They've said they're not clear with all of the organizations they funded, because they've funded quite activist organizations, and so it's not clear what they're doing at this point, including Global Fund for Children.
So, for you two, it's get back there to the restaurant and make it go, and raise Sheen and give him as good an education as he can take.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Usman. I think with Usman, I don't know. He has to. There has to be a little more love of learning and books or something. I don't know. Maybe he'll end up being a sports manager or something like that. That'll be fun. Mm-hmm. In sports today, you get into sports, and you're right in that top slice of people serving society and making a decent living. I don't know. Do you think he has any potential for athletic distinction? I mean, by now, I would think of some of the clubs, and it's soccer. Mm-hmm. It's football internationally, I know that. But for my generation, it's soccer. Has anybody approached you and said, I think your son might benefit from some special camps or something like that. Can we offer you a?
He'd been in the same travel soccer as,
Well, what
Other
I'm saying
kids.
is, if he is really talented, somebody will spot
yeah, I
him.
don't think we haven't
And
been
say,
encouraging
"We
him
got that."
toward an athletic career,
Yeah, well,
so.
I know that. So, that's all I have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, you're dismissed. There'll be a,
Are the quizzes
a 10-minute
there?
quiz on Monday,
Alright.
and then
I can pass it.
your term papers will be due.
Well, it reminds me of, Chomsky is retired with his wife to Arizona, and he is a professor after teaching at MIT for 50 plus years. He's a professor emeritus at the University of Arizona or the University of Tucson.
Something like that.
So he teaches.
There's his picture. When you bring up, when I brought up YouTube earlier, for some reason, no. Oh, here he is.
There's nothing there.
Well,
There you
quickly.
Yes.
go.
So he teaches classes that community members attend, and they're very popular on
cool.
subjects like this.
Right.
Oh wow.
And he,
How old is he now?
Early
Gotta be
90s,
90s.
92
gotta be
maybe.
in his 90s.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple interviews with him on
Yeah.
Democracy Now! In the last few weeks.
Right,
That's cool.
right. He's got the right idea as far as society is concerned, but he's so fucked up about Israel that I don't know how he got so confused and such distorted views. There's a book called From Time Immemorial. It was about 40 years ago, and the point of the author was that there have been Jews in that area since the beginning of civilization, and that I remember his saying how bad that book was at the time he was at MIT, and he was saying, her statistics are just not valid. And then when I did read that book about the origin of the Jews, you find out that if you keep going back and back and back, it gets more and more obscure, and that the Jewish race, as we think of it, is kind of a creation of the biblical era, and the Jews, and of course Abraham and Isaac represent that phase in society when human sacrifice was pushed aside, and it was made not satisfactory. That didn't get to the Aztecs and the what's the other Aztecs and the
Incas?
Incas. It didn't penetrate its way there. So what are you going to do? You got to go back and take care of Lasheen, right?
Yeah, a little monster.
Little
No,
monster.
he's,
Why is he a little?
No, I'm kidding. He's
Okay.
great. He's hilarious. Just very
He's adorable,
talkative,
getting really big.
Very. He likes to narrate everything that's going on. He loves.
You want to
he's
make
fun.
sure that he doesn't
Become a spoiled brat.
become a spoiled brat.
Yeah. 'cause he's-
Get
Would be
dominant,
an only child.
and he's an only child. Linda and I are both only children.
See what happened. Yeah.
Linda's cousin in New Rochelle. I didn't know this till the other day. Michael grew up in New York. He won a Regent Scholarship to Columbia. He was a chemical engineer, and he has never finished college.
Oh no way.
And he just
Oh, interesting.
fell apart at some point in the
Huh.
process.
Is he the one
Exactly.
that I met at one of her birthday
I'm
parties?
sure it is, dear.
And he's into
he's-
the Teslas.
Yeah, he owns two
Yeah,
Teslas. Yes, and the thing that saved him was the same thing that saved Linda, the death of the uncle
Yeah.
with the millions of dollars from the tennis racket patent.
So he invented the tennis racket as we know it.
He invented he invented the big tennis racket. When I was a boy, tennis rackets were all wooden. They were about this big. And I remember taking tennis lessons at the Harrisburg Country Club on one series. I had about 6 lessons up there. And then years later, the rackets got larger, and I think there was a word I can never remember, the destroyer or something like that. And he invented it. It's the large racket. Everybody uses it. After he invented it, and it started being sold, that was it. All tennis rackets. And so Linda said that when he died, there were just stacks of receipts. I don't know whether Wilson owed him and hadn't paid him, or whether they had paid him and they were just, these receipts just need to be cashed in or something like that. But there were millions of dollars involved.
Oh, wow.
And in my own case, I'm thinking that if Joyce and I had broken up the time we left, that I'd be living in one room in Queens somewhere. That would be it. And so what is amusing, well, it's not so amusing, but it's comforting, is especially in Philadelphia, you can just feel it when you walk around the place that you're living a really good life.
So, well, it's also her taste level is just
Oh my God, yes.
incredible
But
the way she puts things together.
She didn't. If that hadn't happened, she hadn't had
She
that
wouldn't have
uncle,
that, yeah.
she would be living in a small house
Yeah.
in
Pension
oh shit, middle passage, main line, one of the main line communities. It's just lovely down there. You
And is she
drive
the
around.
same age as you exactly, or?
No, she is, she's 2 years younger, I think. But we've had,
And when is her
We've-
birthday again?
we've had October 10th. We've
Good.
had,
Oh, the same as Shaq.
Check. We've had identical experiences in some respects.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of interesting similarities.
Now, one thing that's a problem is these two things from the hallway, and I had spent an hour on the phone and on the computer trying to follow the directions here. And they say that they're coming back tomorrow with the package.
Is it that it requires a signature? or
That's
something?